Art Online so far has multiple seasons of anime, one of which is 4 course long, 3 movies, another original movie coming in the next year or two, a TV special, 1 short season anime of a spin-off series, most of which are overlapping with each other or going back and forth in the timeline, let alone the countless material that is yet to be adapted into anime form. And every single time a new project is announced, the question I hear is how to watch the Art Online anime series in order. Well, today it's time to put that question to rest, at least until that 4th anime original movie arrives. I will not go into the non-anime content, but if you're interested, my what to read after watching everything video will answer your questions on that front, so check that out instead if you want to continue the story after watching everything. So, without further ado, you will be starting with the original anime, of course, Art Online Season 1. Episode 1 of the first season will introduce you to the main premise of the series from the perspective of the main character, Kirito. However, stop before moving over to the second episode. Instead of watching episode 2 of season 1, you will want to watch Art Online Progressive Aria Starless Night movie. Without giving you any spoilers and keeping it short, they cut out so much content when adapting the story that was covered in season 1 episode 2 that it basically warranted it being remade as an entire full-size movie. Keep in mind that the movie version has additional anime original content that is not canon, such as, covering the events from the perspective of Asuna, the series' main heroine, along with additions to accommodate for that perspective change, but the pros far outweigh the cons in this case. Season 1 episode 2 is just a disaster on its own, and Aria of a Starless Night is currently the definitive way to watch the contents of the story, unless you want to read the books, of course, links in the description, which are, unlike the movie, focused a lot more on Kirito's perspective. Before moving on to season 1 episode 3, you have another beautiful stop to take. The second Art Online Progressive movie, Scherzo of Deep Night. If the date stamp below the video is saying anything lower than 3 months ago, then you will need to wait a bit, as the movie is still airing in places around the world, and the Blu-ray will start coming out in Japan on May 24, 2023, so you'll need to wait a bit for this movie to arrive in your homes. But you won't need to wait for today's sponsor to do so. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and for good reason. It's easy, it's affordable, it's healthy, and you don't even need to go out grocery shopping, which is honestly the best thing ever. Get rid of that basic pasta and meatballs and replace it with the wide catalog of HelloFresh, offering more than 35 weekly recipes for you to choose, with ingredients and instructions sent straight to your door. You can even customize them to your liking or preferences, and as if that's not great enough, you'll certainly be saving a lot in the process compared to the takeout food you would have ordered because you were too lazy to struggle in your kitchen without HelloFresh's fresh contents and simple instructions. How do you jump on this bundle of deliciousness? Click the link in the description and use the coupon code POGHF92239, and not only will you get free shipping, but also save 65% on your first HelloFresh box. That is like a huge discount, so what are you waiting for? Do it faster than Kirito leaves the town of beginnings. Link in the description and coupon code POGHF92239 for free shipping and 65% off on your first box. Thank you very much to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. Now that we have our food ready, we can go back to binge watching. After the Scherzo movie, my first recommendation would be to coerce you into start reading the light novels, because this is a perfect transitioning opportunity. As I said, you can go back and watch my other video for extensive answers, but if you insist on being an anime only, at this point you will continue your journey with the original anime, season 1 of Art Online. As covered earlier, we replaced episode 2 with the Aria movie, so you will be diving back in with episode 3 instead. And once you do that, it is quite straightforward for a while. You simply follow along that first season of the series. Episode 14 of the first season will conclude the first main arc of the Art Online series, the Aincrad arc that forms the foundation of the events of the entire series, and episode 15 will transition you into the second main arc, Fairy Dance. If you heard stuff about this portion of SAO on the internet, I'll just preface this by saying, ignore all of it, watch it with an open mind, and come to your own conclusions. There's a great story that's being told there, and most people who come in with false pretenses tend to miss the story quite hard, but with episode 25, your journey with the first season will come to an end. But you're not jumping to season 2 for now. You have a TV special episode to go through first, Art Online Extra Edition. This is a special episode that was aired on Japanese TV and later released separately, of course. Now, Extra Edition serves three purposes. The first is something you can skip. Out of the 100 minutes long special, 80 minutes is a recap of the first season with some character moments added in for everyone as they have fun while Kirito is being debriefed. But I would not advise skipping as the second purpose overlaps with the first. It introduces a major key character. Now I'm not gonna lie to you and claim you will never understand anything again if you skip it. It will be slightly beneficial if you have some free time to waste and just go through with it. But if you're binge watching with haste and just finish season 1, just skip to the final 20 minutes of Extra Edition, which is the third purpose it serves. It's a nice little adventure taking place in the game with the main crew. The adapted portion in Extra Edition is also not the full story of the quest they're tackling. While it is wrapped up conclusively in Extra Edition, the story actually continues in the Rainbow Bridge side story. I'll put a link for SAO Volume 22 in the description where the story is published, along with 3 other beautiful stories, but that's a completely separate topic I won't go further into. After Art Online Extra Edition, you're now allowed to move on to Season 2, aptly named Art Online 2. Your task is once again very straightforward. SAO 2 Episode 1 kicks off the third main arc of the series, Phantom Bullet, which lasts until SAO 2 Episode 14, acting as an epilogue/conclusion of the arc. You can skip episode 14.5, which is a full-on recap episode of that first arc in the season. Episode 15 of SAO 2 will start a chill little side story called Calibur with the entire crew. A lot of people on the internet may falsely claim this is quote-unquote filler content, and while they are completely wrong, Calibur also does not have the same high stakes you likely felt in previous main arcs. It's a little side story after all. It only lasts 3 episodes, reaching its conclusion on episode 17 of SAO 2. What comes next, starting with episode 18, is the start of Mother's Rosario side story, taking the focus away from Kirito and putting it on Asuna. Your journey in season 2 will come to an end with episode 24 of SAO 2, with teasers sprinkled around for the upcoming season 3. However, season 3 is not where you go from here, of course. What else would it be? You get an optional path if you're interested at this point, followed by a mandatory movie before jumping to season 3. The optional path is a spin-off series called Art Online Alternative Gale Online. This series takes place in the game world of SAO Season 2's first half, the Phantom Bullet arc's Gale Online. It's a standalone series featuring its own set of characters and technically can be watched at any point, but it's generally recommended to be viewed after finishing Season 2, since the events chronologically coincide with the events of Mother's Rosario and features small references here and there that'll make you smile bittersweetly when you actually catch them. It has a 1 core season consisting of only 12 episodes, and with the way the story is much more relaxed and comedic, it can be watched in a much more relaxing and casual manner. But whether you want to take that spin-off detour or not, the next step is the third movie of the series, Art Online Ordinal Scale. While Ordinal Scale was a completely anime original production, it was later brought into the main canon of the series with all of its events retroactively. I say retroactively because the main arc that takes place after it was already completely written at the point of this movie's release. But the technicalities, they shouldn't matter. What's important is that unlike the 2 progressive movies, Aria of a Starless Night and Scherzo of Deep Night anime adaptations, which have non-canon elements, Ordinal Scale, it's completely canon. And it is actually one of the highest points of the series too, with incredible production quality, sprinkled with the right amount of nostalgia as well as novelty, while expanding the lore of the series in meaningful ways, and doing so as it takes a step away from the usual virtual reality aspect of the series for a dip into the world of augmented reality that allows it to have a very fresh take in comparison. And if you watched it until the very end of the post-credit scene, that is your cue to the final step. Well, the final step that is currently available so far, that is. Following the Ordinal Scale Scale movie, you will be heading into the largest and most ambitious saga of the SAO Online series. The third season, which is a 4-core production consisting of 47 episodes, SAO Online Alicization. The first half of the Alicization series, up until episode 24, covers the human realm sub-arc of the Alicization arc, which is a rather personal journey for our main character Kirito and his new friend Yujiro, whereas the second half of the season covers the War of Underworld sub-arc, which acts as a culmination of the entire series thus far in the form of a grand climax. And that is as far as the anime adaptation goes so far. However, the SAO series is far from being over. The next main arc following the events of Alicization is currently being written, titled Unital Ring, and has, on its own, almost reached the length of the entire Alicization saga so far, without a clear end in sight yet. And we know for a fact that Unital Ring itself will transition into another story, similar to how the human realm story of Alicization transitioned into the War of Underworld. There are also plenty of side stories, long and short, to be experienced in the series. If you don't want to wait and make the transition into reading the light novels, my guide to what to read next will be linked under the like button in the description as promised. As for the fourth SAO Online movie that I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, the anime original movie that is scheduled for sometime in the future currently has no synopsis or any kind of context attached to it. As a result, if you're watching this video in the future, I cannot tell you where it lands chronologically in the series, but I'll make sure to update the pinned comment when we know more about the movie. Alternatively, you can just subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss my weekly news coverage of the series This Week in SAO, among plenty of other highly informational SAO Online content. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this guide helpful, and if you did, make sure to leave a like. If you have questions, do ask them down below in the comments. I hope to see you all on Mondays in This Week in SAO, and until then, stay cool.